Let's try that again. Rob Carson's What Is Going On. Hello, glad to see you. I decided to be casual today, wear a ball cap. Just because I'm chilling, getting ready to go to work at a second job that hopefully won't be doing much longer. Anyway, glad to have you guys here this morning on the show. Rob Carson Live Now. Rob Carson Show Live Now. All right, so, wow, what a week. What a weekend. Right now, Kenosha is on fire, I guess. To some degree, it's kind of slowed down a little bit because Donald Trump sent some troops in. The governor had the common sense and the wherewithal to say, yeah, you know what, we're kind of tired of people wrecking our city, our little town here. And because of some a-hole who got shot by the police, and deservedly so, because he's an a-hole. We'll get into Jacob Blake here very shortly, and what a complete failure in life he is, and how this is where we've sunk. We've sunk to the point that there are marches and people are burning cities because of thug loser a-holes like Jacob Blake, who is a complete, did I tell you, he's a thug loser a-hole? Yeah, he's a thug loser a-hole. And he has failed at everything in his life. George Floyd, a little bit different. He died under different circumstances, but he was still a loser in life. He was a complete loser with a rap sheet, held a pregnant woman at gunpoint with a gun pointed at her stomach. Most people don't do that. Most people don't do that. No, most people don't strong arm pregnant women and put guns to their stomachs. That's something that George Floyd did. I thought you should know. Yeah. Mike Brown, by the way. Mike Brown also. Mike Brown strong-armed a convenience store right before he was shot after attacking a police officer and trying to take his gun and kill him. So, I just thought you should know why your cities are burning. Okay, that's all you should know. Why your cities are burning, because these fine, upstanding people had confrontations with the police. So, a lot of things have happened. Last week we had the Republican National Convention, and it was positive. It was awesome. There were great speakers of all different color and creed, and great stories of success and positivity. And the media painted it as awful. And because the last night of the convention was held, and there were people sitting within 6 feet of each other without masks on, they panicked. Even though there are massive rallies, violent, and by the way, they're not mostly peaceful. They're mostly violent rallies in cities around the country, where COVID has to be running rampant. If you believe that a simple rally at the White House is going to make people all sorts of sick, or going to the beach or taking your dog for a walk in the park, surely you would think that Antifa and BLM are spreading COVID and killing millions. But the media, of course, is not saying that. By the way, this is what's keeping my daughter from going to school in Kansas. We live in Kansas. Right now, the infection rate is minuscule. The death rate is minuscule. If you look at all the numbers for case-related fatalities, 0 to 9, 0%, 10 to 17, that's my daughter's age group. Nobody has died in the state of Kansas. 18 to 24, 0.03%, 25 to 34, 0.06%, which is less than the flu. Moves up a little bit higher with 35 to 44. These are people with comorbidities. 85 plus. If you get just about anything and you're 85 plus, it's going to kill you. All right, I just get the flu. Pneumonia is number one killer with people over 85 years old. But this is keeping my daughter from going to school. This is my daughter having her life robbed from her in Johnson County, Kansas, where we pay ungodly high taxes for good schools. And I do mean this. Teachers, get your asses to your classes. I'm quite, teachers, what you do is great, but you also get paid. It's your job. You chose the career. Don't act like some sort of martyr. I go to my job every single day. I have met hundreds and hundreds and hundreds over the past 3 months, and one person where I work has gotten sick in a place that employs about 200 people, and that person had no symptoms. The other day, I met my very first customer who said she's recovering from COVID. The very first customer. She's about 40 years old. I was the very first person I've talked to who's recovered from COVID. So to hell with your giant pandemic that is so deadly. It's not. It's a lie. It's a big fat lie. And it is going to go down as the biggest ruse in the history of mankind. Where do I want to start? Where do I want to start? I think I want to start with this is the funniest stand-up I saw, and that is on CNN. And I don't even know who this guy is, but I want you to look at the graphic because it's absolutely hilarious. He's standing in Kenosha where buildings are burning. This happened at CNN in Minneapolis as well, as they stood outside of a big liquor store in Uptown where I used to live. And I want you to look at the graphic here at the bottom and then this guy's report. It's absolutely hilarious.
Laura, what you're seeing behind me is one of multiple locations that have been burned.
Now, they're fiery, but they're mostly peaceful. Now, have you seen a single Republican rally? Have you seen a single Trump rally where stuff was on fire? I mean, maybe they were tailgating, maybe they had a Weber, they had some bratwurst going, but there is not a single Republican rally that has stuff on fire, and it says fiery but mostly peaceful protests after the police shooting. Now, this is worse than North Korean media. And you're saying, Rob, how could it be worse than North Korean media? Well, it's because North Korea doesn't have a choice. North Korea doesn't have a choice. We have the media in this country protected by the First Amendment, the freest in the history of mankind, and they choose to do this sort of crap.
In Kenosha, Wisconsin, over the course of the night, a second night since Jacob Blake was seen shot in the back 7 times by a police officer. And what you are seeing now, these images came and come in stark contrast to what we saw over the course of the daytime hours in Kenosha and into the early evening, which were largely peaceful.
They were largely peaceful, and then they descended into absolute hell. I mean, I'm sorry, a fiery but mostly peaceful.
Demonstrations in the face of law enforcement. It wasn't until...
This guy needs to go back to school. I think he's been out of school maybe a year. Go back to J school and demand his frigging money back.
Felt that things began to get a little bit more contentious. Things were thrown back and forth. Police started using some of those crowd dispersal.
No, mostly back, or mostly forth. Mostly forth. The stuff that's thrown is forth.
Tactics like tear gas, even playing very loud sounds to push them out. And then what you were seeing, the common theme that ties all of this together, is an expression of anger and frustration.
No, it's not. It's an expression of fascistic government takeover. You are wrong. Go demand the money from your J school. Go do something else. Work at a Payless shoe source. Your time is much better spent there rather than propagandizing.
Over what people feel like has become an all too familiar story playing out in places.
Yeah, a guy who had an arrest record a mile long, who's a sexual assaulter, somebody who has beaten his children. He goes to grab a knife out of a car and the police shoot him to save their lives.
From across the country, not just here in Kenosha.
Go get your money back for J school because you are a jackass. I don't even know your name. What a fool. You had your chance. You've got a chance as a journalist to truly express yourself, even better than like Great Britain, even better than any country in the world. You're not going to get the freedom of expression you get in this country, and you waste it. You waste it to propagandize for a Democrat Party and a narrative that is false. It's really, really, really unbelievably disgusting. Oh, this is fantastic. At the president's, at the Republican National Committee, Kristi Noem said that there were Democrat cities around the country burning, and they are. All right, there's no doubt about it. We've seen 90-plus nights of it in Portland, Oregon, is run by a Democrat, Ted Wheeler, who is he's a fool. He's an idiot. He's a communist. He's a socialist. You've got Jenny Durkin running Seattle into the ground. And here is Rachel Maddow. I think we'll start with Maddow first. Yeah, this is Maddow and Durkin talking about because Jenny Durkin said there was a summer of love in Chicago, and that the Chaz then became Chop Zone was peaceful and wonderful. Well, they had to break it up because it was wrecking a part of the city. But here she is again. Talking about a narrative that does not exist.
Mayor Durkin, the caricature of your city and other, as the Republicans say, Democrats.
It's not a caricature when it's 100% true. You shrew. Hey, That rhymed. Rachel Maddow acts like she's terribly intelligent, and she's really not.
Run cities because they don't like to say Democratic. I don't know.
Because you're Democrat. You're run by a Democrat. It's not democratic at all.
Is that the whole...
That's why. And even though you're Harvard or Ivy League educated, you should know that, Rachel Maddow. You should know that. And by the way, Rachel Maddow spent 3 years lying to her audience about Russian collusion that never happened. She lied to her audience about it. There was a false narrative for 3 years. And people still watch this woman.
Country is at risk of falling into anarchy and chaos, and that if Democrats have control over more of the country, things will fall apart into a Hobbesian struggle for the
Hobbesian. It's a Hobbesian struggle.
The strongest. That caricature has been used really against.
It's not a caricature, you fool. When it's true.
Seattle more than any.
See, if you've got billions of dollars worth of damage. 30 people plus dead, police officers being injured by the hundreds. It's not a caricature. You should know this, but you're so clouded by your ideology that even your Harvard education or wherever you graduated cannot see through it.
Where else? Does it have a material effect on your ability to govern and Seattle's ability to get the resources that it needs for what the city needs to get done?
It did have an impact on this summer on some things because the president and Fox News were so insistent on driving that message that people started to come there to make the reality real.
Oh, yeah.
But our city, like every city in America right now with COVID-19 and a challenging economy, has a lot to work through, and that's where we need federal leadership. And that's where he has absolutely failed.
No, honey, and I use that over. Honey, Pookie, that's where you failed. That's where you failed the business community in Seattle. That's where you've sucked up to the violent mob in your city. You're the failure. Make no bones about it. You are an abject failure. You will go down in the history of Seattle as being one of the worst leaders, one of the worst mayors the city has ever seen as the city descended into chaos. Okay? Let's just get that straight. Here's another. Oh, this is Rachel Maddow responding to Kristi Noem about violence in cities and, of course, acting like it's really not happening in Democrat-run cities around the country, even though the evidence is so ungodly overwhelming.
We're just going to interject here just for a moment. That was South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, who said a lot of things. But we have, as we've said over the course of this coverage, we will interject when we feel like there's something.
By the way, CNN did not fact-check the Democrat National Convention. They did not. Because people like Don Lemon said, we don't need to because everything they say is true.
That's important.
Again, worse than South Korea.
And deliberate and very wrong that should be corrected just so that we feel responsible about our broadcast. In this case...
How could you feel responsible about your broadcast when you lied to your audience for 3 years about Democrat collusion that never happened?
Governor Noem just said, from Seattle and Portland to Washington and New York, Democrat-run cities across this country are being overrun by violent mobs. The violence is rampant. There's looting, chaos, destruction, murder. People that can afford to flee have fled.
Yeah, and that's all true.
Joining us for more on that and to...
Okay, I just wanted to do the setup to show you, again, how she's worse than North Korea. Hello, Jay. How you doing there? Jay says, Rob should hang out in crowds where they don't believe in masks or hand washing. Show us what a big boy he is. Well, Jay, Jackass Jay, I worked for 6 months at a place and I didn't wear a mask and nobody got infected, okay? So where do you work? It's not happening, Jay. It's not happening. And in places like Florida, testing labs, over 100 of them lied about the number of people who had it. Everybody who went and got tested, they said 100%. There's a gigantic lie. Hospitals are getting federal money for saying that people died of COVID, Jay. Do your research, Jay, okay? I've been out in crowds. I work every day in crowds. And, Jay, it's not the gigantic epidemic that everybody says it is. Okay, Jay? Thought you should know, Pookie. You're a Pookie, too. All right, let's move on. I want to talk a little bit about Kenosha. First of all, let's talk about the guy who was shot in Kenosha, who was a giant flaming piece of crap. Jacob Blake. Well, let's just show. Well, I'm going to show his rap sheets to you. Okay, here's Jacob Blake. This is his rap sheet. Disorderly conduct, repeat offender, domestic abuse. Okay, Here's another page of his glorious rap sheet. Again, this is a victim of police brutality. Battery, disorderly conduct. Okay, so battery and disorderly conduct. I'm going to tell you something in a second that's pretty bad. Domestic abuse, false imprisonment, use of a dangerous weapon, battery, secondary, recklessly endangering safety. Those are all the things that, and I'm going to go ahead and, Jay, if you'd like to watch facts, please continue here. If not, I would encourage you to watch MSNBC with Rachel Maddow. Okay? I want you to do that. Because I'm not going to mess with you. Anyway, so that is the guy who was shot, and that is why Kenosha is burning. Okay? Here is Jacob Blake tussling with the police before he got away from the police, even though they tased him. So he clearly was on something. Jacob Blake was clearly on something that a taser did not affect him, and he walked around to the driver's side of the car, reached into the driver's side of the car for a knife that was proven to be on the floorboard, and that's when the police, to save their own lives, shot him.
We're getting a new look now at the weekend police shooting in Wisconsin that's sparking those protests we saw tonight. That video just into our newsroom, captured from a yard on the same street of the shooting where it happened. It shows Jacob Blake appearing to be on the ground beside the car before he's able to get up and start walking around to the front of the vehicle to the driver's seat. You can't see the officer shooting Blake in this footage, but 6 gunshots are heard before the video ends. Blake is in serious condition. Meantime, protesters and police are clashing now in a second night of demonstrations in Kenosha. This video from there, police have used flashbangs and rubber bullets. Protesters have been seen lighting fires and setting off fireworks.
All right, so there you go. That's Jacob Blake. Jacob Blake is a scumbag piece of crap. All right, he got shot 7 times. He's not going to walk again because he's a fool. Jacob Blake had a girlfriend that he was with for a number of years, and she said in court documents that she was sexually assaulted him biannually for 8 years. There was one point where he actually penetrated her with a digit, just like Joe Biden did to that intern on an elevator in Washington, D.C., Tara Reid. Yeah, Joe Biden did the same thing to Tara Reid. He penetrated her with a finger. Except for this guy said something really foul that I'm not going to say, essentially saying that she had been with other men. Okay? So Jacob Blake is a scumbag piece of crap. His father was at a march in Washington, D.C., being celebrated as some sort of hero, even though he is a failure as a father. Absolute failure as a father. At least his mother is calling for peace. By the way, Shelby says, no, not Shelby. I had a comment here just a second ago. Hold on. Let me get it. Nancy Bell, I had surgery in Baltimore. Asked a nurse if there'd been a lot of COVID cases. She shook her head and said no. I did the same thing at an administrator at a very large hospital in the Kansas City area. And I said, this is about 4 months into the pandemic. I said, how many cases have you had? She said 13. How many deaths have you had? 1. I said, okay, well, tell me about that. Well, the 13 cases, with the exception of 3, they all were sent home. There were 2 that were hospitalized briefly. One had a kidney problem. The other one had a heart problem. The third person, the person who died, was already in hospice to die. And they were sent to the hospital where they tested positive for COVID and, of course, got lots of money for the government. Okay? My niece says, my guess is that things would have ended a lot differently if he would have just complied. Absolutely 100%. The guy's a scumbag piece of crap. He's got like 6 children. He's 28 years old, and he has a rap sheet a mile long. He's not a good person. He's not a good person. He's not a martyr. Neither was George Floyd. George Floyd had a fatal dose of fentanyl in his system when he died. That's going to be the defense by the police officer. Do I think that he should have been held down by his neck for 9 minutes? No, I don't. No, I don't. The officer should be held accountable. But George Floyd is not a saint. George Floyd does not deserve a statue like they're going to put up in Minneapolis. It's a joke. It's a joke. Here is someone speaking at a rally in Kenosha, and we're hearing this sort of inflammatory rhetoric nationwide. We're also going to get into a 17-year-old young man went into Kenosha because police won't do it, and he brought his rifle with him to protect people, and he ended up killing 2 scumbags. You know why? Because they shot first. And I'm going to share that in just one moment. But this is the kind of wonderful, loving rhetoric we're seeing around the country at Black Lives Matter rallies. Oh, by the way, Black Lives Matter, as far as popularity, they were up 25 points before Kenosha. Now they're at 0 in the state of Wisconsin and Minnesota.
It's worth something. His life is worth something.
Not according to the girlfriend that he's been sexually assaulting for 8 years and the children he's beaten.
I have to say, God damn it, if you kill one of ours, it's time for us to kill one of yours.
And I don't know exactly what that's supposed to mean, but it is inflammatory. It is not protected by the First Amendment.
I know everybody don't want to hear that. But damn, why we the ones got to keep burying ours? And got to keep pleading for you to see us as being human.
Well, your hero was a scumbag piece of crap.
We ain't never did nothing to
Now he's going to get all sorts of preachifying. It's going to get real thick here.
nobody.
See what I mean right there?
The black man, woman, and child is the most forgiving people on this planet. I'll be damned if we got to keep telling you that we don't deserve this.
Well, if you sexually abuse people and beat your children and commit assault, you deserve that there, Jacob Blake. But Jacob Blake, he'll get a big lawsuit settlement for being a scumbag piece of crap. He'll get a big old lawsuit. He'll get a big old lawsuit. He'll get a big old bunch of money. His dad will get a big old bunch of money. That's the way it always happens, even though he's an absolute piece of crap. Kyle Rittenhouse is 17 years old. He was arrested in his hometown of Antioch, Illinois on Wednesday. He went to Kenosha. He brought his long rifle, but he is some sort of a zealot. He is some sort of a zealot. He's always dreamed of being a cop. He's a Trump supporter. And consequently, he's a murderer. No, actually, he's just doing what a lot of people are going to start doing, and that is going into cities where these mayors will not protect the people, the businesses, and they are acting as the militia, as the police. That's the way it's going to be. And if that stuff is brought to the suburbs, it's going to get real ugly in a big old hurry. All right? Kyle Rittenhouse killed 2 people who actually shot at him first. Let me tell you about the 2 people that he shot. Look at this. Here's a headline. Police-obsessed gunman who was charged with the murder of 2 BLM protesters during Kenosha riots sat front row at a Trump MAGA rally as video interviewed emerges from him bragging about being a vigilante before the mayhem unfolded. Let's see if he was bragging about being a vigilante. I've got his. Here he is. This is him bragging about being a vigilante. Actually, that is actually the shooting video. Here is the video about him bragging about.
People are getting injured, and our job is to protect this business, and part of my job is to also help people. If there's somebody hurt, I'm running into harm's way. That's why I have my rifle, because I can protect myself, obviously. But I also have my med kit.
I'm not seeing vigilante in that video. Are you? Now, that's one of the shootings. I'm going to get into some stop and start video with that. So let's go ahead and look at the vigilante again. Here is a vigilante.
People are getting injured, and our job is to protect.
People are getting injured. Businesses are burning. People are getting injured by the hundreds by BLM, Black Lives Matter, and Antifa. Okay?
Business, and part of my job is to also help people. If there's somebody hurt, I'm running into harm's way.
If somebody's hurt, I'm running into harm's way.
That's why I have my rifle, because I can protect myself, obviously. But I also have my med kit.
Wow, what a vigilante he is. Looking at cities burning and people being injured and police officers having things hurled at them like bricks in Kenosha or like garbage can lids in Minneapolis, both officers injured severely. Or officers blinded by lasers in Portland or burned. Yeah, what a vigilante he is. What a vigilante he is. Hold on, let me find these guys here. Here are the 3 people who were shot. Joseph Don Rosenbaum, calls himself JoJo. I'm going to play some video of him calling a guy the N-word. He's a small Jewish man. It's kind of interesting. Anyway, convicted in Arizona in 2002 for committing an act of sexual misconduct with a child. He's a child molester. According to his entry in the sex offender registry, he was a level 3 offender, meaning he was at a high risk of reoffending and a general danger to his surroundings. That's one of the guys. More telling is Rosenbaum's 42 separate disciplinary infractions while incarcerated, including numerous assaults, committing sex acts, manufacturing a weapon, and arson. He was released in 2016. That's one of the guys who was shot. Anthony Huber, the second anarchist who died on the scene, is being promoted as a hero. Got a big GoFundMe thing going. His girlfriend's raised $70,000. He pled guilty to false imprisonment with a dangerous weapon and strangulation as domestic abuse in 2012. He appears to have violated the terms of his probation in 2016 and was sentenced to 2 years in state prison, much of it settled with time served. Huber was arrested again in 2018 for battery. Gage Crosskreutz, pistol-wielding anarchist who was shot in the arm while attacking Mr. Rittenhouse, was charged with felony burglary and theft in 2013, violated his probation just 4 months later. He was another arrest in 2017. By the way, he should not have had a gun. His possession of a firearm is a serious offense that could net him 10 years in prison. So once he gets out of the hospital, he could go to jail for a while. Yay! Here is Tucker Carlson on the vigilante going after Antifa, and Antifa thinking it's a big video game and ended up having their asses handed to them.
Chaos that began with the first George Floyd protests on Memorial Day has reached its inevitable and bloody conclusion. Last night, 3 people were shot on the streets of Kenosha, Wisconsin. 2 of them have died. Police say they've charged a 17-year-old with murder. Here's what Kenosha looked like last night.
There's Kenosha. All because Jacob Blake, a serial sexual assaulter and abuser, he was shot by police when he went to his car to retrieve a knife and attack them. That's Kenosha.
2 people died. Many of the details remain hazy. Big media organizations have done their best to downplay and ignore the violence in Kenosha and around the country. But there were a few reporters on the scene last night. One of them, Richie McGinnis of the Daily Caller, was standing nearby when a man was shot in the head. McGinnis ripped off his T-shirt and used it to try and staunch the man's bleeding. Here's the scene.
Put pressure on it. Put pressure on it.
Where, dude? Where? Where's the hole?
Wait, where are you at? Where? Here it is.
Okay, so anyway, 2 guys shot, 3 guys shot, 2 dead. Here's a little bit of the shooting video.
Them is white boys.
Now, I want you to watch, because the person who he shot here had a gun and fired at him. Watch. There's Rittenhouse.
That's Antifa, man. Oh, we got a gun, baby.
There's your Antifa guy right there. He got a gun. He just shot.
Oh, they shooting. Oh, he shot him.
All right, let's show that again. Here's the Antifa whipping out his big gun.
Oh, we got a gun, baby. Oh, they shooting. Oh, he shot him.
Okay, so somebody shot toward him, and he shot back. Felix says somebody say that Rittenhouse was trying to put out a dumpster fire, and that was the reason they went after him. Okay? Linwood is representing him. You know what? I'm going to contribute to his legal fund. I don't have a lot of money extra to do things, but I'm going to. He's a good kid. He's a 17-year-old man, and he went there to help things. By the way, he didn't bring his rifle with him. Somebody let him have it. He was going in to try to protect people at his own in harm's way, as so many are, as so many are being injured, and so many businesses are being ruined across the country. And this kid said he had balls bigger than anybody to go in there and say, I'm going to help people. And yet he's being painted as some sort of wannabe cop. Yeah, you know what? Great. It's amazing that anybody in the country still wants to be. It really is. Here's the second shooting. This is where where Mr. Rittenhouse was being chased down, kicked in the head, and a guy whipped out a 9mm to shoot him to death. And Mr. Rittenhouse got the drop on him because Mr. Rittenhouse knows how to use a gun. I'm going to move forward to the second one here. Okay. That's what we just saw. Here's the other one where he's being attacked. Come on. Okay, here we go. Okay, that's Mr. Rittenhouse. Let's watch that again. Here we go. So Rittenhouse is running down the street. He's got his gun with him. He's running away. Here come the attackers. He's hit from behind. Here he is. He's going to be attacked again and knocked to the ground. Okay, first of all, if you chase somebody who's running with an AR, you're a freaking moron. So they knock him down. This is where the attack starts. That guy right there who kicked him in the head, see that? Okay, this guy right here tried to grab his gun. That guy right there has a gun, a 9mm, the guy to the right. Boom. Shoots that jackass in the arm. And the other guy who attacked him and kicked him takes the other bullet. Okay? So let's watch it again in case you didn't know. Being attacked from behind. This is what Antifa does. They're going to knock him to the ground and presumably beat him to death. He's got his gun. There's a guy kicking him in the head. There's the other guy trying to grab the gun from him. He lost. Oh, did you see that? Hold on. Watch this. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Watch. Oh, wait a minute. That's a gun. See the guy there kind of bent? Right there? Trying to, yeah, here we go. Watch. He's got a gun. That guy right there has a gun. Boom. Boom. In the arm. Kid knows how to use a weapon, and he walks away. He walks away saving his life from these guys who were physically attacking him. And one of them lost. Big time. One of them, he's got a big old scar on his arm, and the other one's gone. Here is Mr. Joseph Rosenbaum before the attack, to show you what a wonderful person he is. And I don't know if I mentioned, he's a sexual assaulter with a lengthy record starting in 2002. He molested children. Here's Mr. Rosenbaum, and I don't approve of you. I don't like using this word. I don't use this word. But here is Mr. Rosenbaum talking smack, and you've got a lot of these people who are emboldened by whatever because of their numbers. And this kid comes, he's by himself. He's only got his gun, and he's being attacked by dozens and dozens of people. Here's Mr. Rosenbaum talking smack, which any other person, if this were a Trump supporter, it would be the #1 story in the country. Here is Mr. Rosenbaum, child molester that he is, or was, I should say, talking smack.
Shoot me, nigga. Shoot me, nigga.
Shoot me, shoot me. Well, yeah, it kind of happened.
Shoot me, nigga.
Clearly has short man syndrome.
Shoot me, nigga.
You don't talk smack to somebody carrying an assault rifle. Well, I don't call them assault rifles. Carrying an AR. Talking smack like he's down with the struggle. Really funny. Here is the president talking about the Black Lives Matter thugs, and yes, he used the word thugs, and he should.
We had a wonderful turnout last night. What I didn't like it was...
Oh, he's talking about, by the way, what happened outside of the White House after the rally. And the fact that the president, after his rally on Thursday night, people left the rally, including my friend Dan Bongino, and were assaulted by hundreds of Black Lives Matter terrorists, anarchists, Marxists that they are, attacked them, chased them down, threatened them, said the most vile things possible. Again, if these were Trump supporters doing this, it would be the number one story in the nation. No Democrats have said anything about it, which shows whose side they're on.
You saw this, right? When it was over? You saw when it was over? The thugs outside, and these incredible people from all over the country, all over the world that were there last night, they walked out to a bunch of thugs. And that wasn't, remember this, that wasn't friendly protesters. They were thugs. They were thugs. And the D.C. police are good. But the mayor gave bad instructions last night that should have never been allowed to happen. When a senator like Rand Paul walks out, and thank God we had some good police around him, and they took tremendous abuse. And Rand Paul was in big trouble last night. He's a good guy, he's a friend of mine. And that shouldn't happen to anybody. But here's a U.S. senator walking.
Let's go ahead to some of the Rand Paul video, shall we? Here is Kelly and Rand Paul walking out of the White House, being surrounded first by 20 people, then 40, then 60 people, screaming, "I'm going to rape your wife," to her, saying some things that I would not say here that are they are the most despicable, awful, evil things ever. Screw Black Lives Matter. Screw Antifa. A war is coming.
We have Rand Paul here in downtown Washington, D.C., just getting out of the Republican
Rand Paul felt that if he got knocked down, he would be beaten to death.
event at the White House, with Trump accepting the nomination for the Republican Party for the 2020 election. He is surrounded by a crowd of protesters here, as well as this line of Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police.
You could see the fear in her eyes. Okay, by the way, Rand Paul is sponsoring legislation. I believe Breonna Taylor. He is sponsoring legislation to end no-knock raids. That was the result of her death, by the way. He's actually a sponsor, and these idiots are screaming her name at him. You know why? Because they're effing idiots. Shelby, the reason why the police aren't escorting him out is because there's only a few police, and this crowd grew to like 60 people. National Guard, baby, bring him in. This happened again and again and again to people leaving the Republican National Committee, the big finale in Washington, D.C. This sort of thing happened when Trump was running for president as well. This nonsense has been going on for 4 years, and it's about to end. Vernon Jones actually spoke on the fourth night. He is a man of color, and he had the same thing happen to him.
And when you look at Black lives being attacked by the Black Lives members, there's a hypocrisy there. It's no secret. I am walking from an event, and here I was attacked by a mob. This was a mob, and most of them were Black. I'm a Black life. They were willing to fight me or attack me. I'm Black. Black Lives Matter has not come out and said, look, stop attacking people for their First Amendment right.
Black Lives Matter is a terrorist, anarchist, Marxist organization. If there is anyone that Any football team that is supporting Black Lives Matter, any sports team that is supporting Black Lives Matter, if there's any mayor supporting Black Lives Matter, they support anarchy and Marxism, and they should be ignored. They should be ignored. They should be taken down. This is a new ad that put together the RNC, and this is just one day of violence from Antifa and Black Lives Matter. This is one day of violence. Again, think about this. We had essentially the attempted assassination of a United States senator. Now, he was also, Rand Paul was attacked in his yard by a Democrat. Broke his ribs, knocked him off his riding lawnmower. Okay. You got Steve Scalise was shot by a Bernie Sanders supporter. And now you have what could have been the attempted assassination of Rand Paul in public, torn apart, beaten to death by an angry mob. And nobody in Congress, no Democrat has said a damn thing. No Democrat has said a damn thing. We have got to run them out of office in November. We have got to let this president win so he can actually declare war on Antifa and declare war on Black Lives Matter and end this nonsense. Incarcerate them if they commit acts of violence. Put them away for good. Here's the new ad.
Protesters confronted Republican Senator Rand Paul.
We have an incredible opportunity to fundamentally transform the country.
We've got to stop them. We've got to stop them. Mr. Rittenhouse, who went to Kenosha and killed 2 Antifa members, Rittenhouse, he was the beginning, and the American people are tired of this. I'm not endorsing it, but you know, when you commit billions of dollars in damage and injure hundreds of police officers, there's a point where somebody has to step up. And this kid went in harm's way, first and foremost, to help people. His friend gave him the gun. Fortunately, he knew how to use it. Here's the president talking about, these mostly peaceful marches.
Today's Democrat Party is filled with hate. Just look at Joe Biden's supporters on the streets screaming and shouting at bystanders with unhinged, manic rage, right? You see it? It's crazy. It's crazy. You had to see last night in Washington. It was a disgrace.
Yep.
It was a disgrace that these people are representing the United States of America. It was a disgrace.
And no Democrat has said a thing, not even your glorious presidential candidate, Joe Biden, who probably doesn't remember it happened.
Protesters. You know what I say? Protesters, your ass. I don't talk about my ass.
Yes. Now, if you don't believe me, let's go to a Black Lives Matter protest in Washington, D.C. And if you support this, honestly, you need a mental exam. You need to be locked away. I'm going to play something right now that is not protected by the First Amendment. This is mob rule. This is a real threat to the government and to the police. I want you to watch this guy. Listen to what he had to say, because this is what's going to happen. This is what we are being met with. And unless the government does something about it, unless the police are allowed to do something about it, it's only going to grow, and this fight is only going to get bigger.
I'm at the point where I'm ready to put these police in the fucking grave.
I'm about to put the police in the grave.
I'm at the point where I want to burn the fucking White House down.
I want to burn the White House down.
I want to take it to the senators. I want to take it to the Congress. I want to take the fight to them.
Okay, so he's threatening Congress.
At the end of the day, if they ain't going to hear us, we burn them the fuck down.
Okay, that is an actual threat. This is not protected by the First Amendment.
I'm I'm one that talk real shit. I talk it in New York, and I talk it in D.C.
Yeah, the spirit of Martin Luther King Jr. not alive in this one.
The same way I fuck police up in New York, I fuck cops up here in D.C.
Professional protester, probably funded by Black Lives Matter. Clearly, he says he's been around. He's been doing this all over the country.
The same way I bust police in the head in New York, I bust police in the head in D.C.
Okay, so he has said he's actually physically assaulted police officers in New York, and he will do it in D.C.
Now, it's a lot of people, and I'm going to be honest, it's a lot of people that's on this front line. And one of the things that I always say, don't get on this fucking front line if you ain't going to fucking fight.
Like your two buddies in Kenosha who got shot.
Don't get on this front line if you ain't gonna take no hit. Don't get on this front line when the police fucking push up, you push back. If you gonna be on this front line and them racist ass, nasty ass, punk ass fucking police is pushing up, you push the fuck up.
Okay, yeah, he needs a beat down, and I hope he gets it very soon. And he will when Donald Trump wins the election. Here's a president in Minnesota, by the way. There are 5 mayors in Minnesota, including Ely, Duluth, 5 liberal Democrat mayors who now have said that they are coming out in support of Donald Trump. There you go. That's Minnesota, people. I lived in Minnesota for 5 years.
4 more years.
There you go. That is Minnesota, people. Now, I was looking for an article. I've got it here somewhere of these 5 mayors who say they don't recognize the Democrat Party anymore. They don't recognize it anymore. They're not speaking out against this violence. I don't have the article in front of me because I have so much stuff. Yeah, so much paper. But there's pushback. There's pushback coming. It's already here. It's burning in the heart of people like me, like you. It's people who look every day at the news and they watch these cities burning and they watch police officers being injured and they internalize it and they push it down. Recent Rasmussen survey said 8 of 10 people are proud of the founding of the country and support the police. Do you think that giant is going to sleep forever? Julia Jackson, the mother of Jacob Blake, the scumbag piece of crap who was shot by police in Kenosha, harshly condemned the violence happening in Kenosha over the shooting of her son during an interview on CNN, by the way. She said she's hurt and disgusted by the community's response. The family and I are hurt and quite frankly disgusted. And as his mother, please don't burn up property and cause havoc and tear your homes down in my son's name. That was mom. Dad did not say that. Dad went to a march in Washington, D.C. and stood alongside poverty pimp, not Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton. Yeah. Race baiter, Al Sharpton, who's done nothing like Joe Biden. Just like Joe Biden for the last 47 years has done nothing for the black community at all whatsoever. This is Walk Away Chicago. Walk Away is taking hold as people are realizing that the Democrat Party is honestly not a force for good anymore. The Democrat Party is not a force for good when you are okay with 40% of the black population being aborted, when you are okay with cities burning, when you are okay with supporting thugs being shot by police, when you are in support of burning Portland, when you are in support of hundreds of police officers being injured, when you are in support of defunding the police, even though they are under attack in the most dangerous job you can ever imagine. This is your Democrat Party. They're not a force for good.
Walk away, walk away, walk away, walk away, walk away, walk away, walk away. All right, thank you. Yeah.
We are still fundamentally good. We still are the people who have freed more people in the world than anyone in the history of mankind. We are still the country that has thousands and thousands and thousands of our young men buried on the soil of other countries in defense of those countries. We still are that. We still are the country that every week there's a walk or a run for somebody who is suffering. There's some sort of a fundraiser. There's some sort of something positive. We still are that. And evil isn't going to win. Right now, Antifa, Black Lives Matter, they are evil. And the Democrat Party is in bed with them. Here's an Antifa thug getting his ass kicked in Portland. I just play it because it's funny. This kid walks around with a mask and he hits people with his skateboard and he does all that sort of stuff, but he's picked a fight with the wrong person. Boom. Bye-bye. Night-night. Night-night, Antifa.
Hey, don't touch his neck. Don't touch his neck.
Night-night. Let's watch it again. That was very
Don't
satisfying.
touch his
Oh,
neck.
see, he's got his Antifa logo on his shirt there. Let's watch it again. Bam. Night-night. Have a nice sleep.
Hey, don't touch his neck. Don't touch his neck. Don't touch his neck. Don't touch his neck.
No, I'm not hurting him. It's okay. Okay.
All right.
Go back to your basement. By the way, there is a congressman who's saying that protesters, violent protesters, are going to get their unemployment taken away from them. Okay, so a lot of these jackasses are getting paid $600 a week, which is more they've ever made. And so rioters could be stripped of unemployment benefits and forced to pay for police costs under new peaceful protests, a bill proposed by Jim Banks, who represents Indiana's 3rd Congressional District. So back to your basement with you. You'll just have to get your money from George Soros and Black Lives Matter. Where does Black Lives Matter money go, by the way? Where are the billions of dollars that go to Black Lives? Tell me one dime. Where does it go? Tell me one black life that is made better. Please. Go ahead. I'm waiting. Didn't you like? Oh, you want me to? I just got rid of it. I'm sorry. I played it twice for you, Shelby. So I like that. So in Portland, a man in a Patriot Prayer hat was shot dead during violent clashes between Trump supporters and the Black Lives Matter crew. 95th night of unrest. Now, here's the man was wearing a Patriot Prayer baseball cap, suggesting he was a supporter of the far-right group. That's what the UK Daily Mail says. He's a supporter of the far-right group. Now, Antifa and Black Lives Matter is never the far left. They never are. They never are. This man was shot to death. Here is the caravan that went into Portland last night because they're sick and tired of what's happening in Portland. Over 600 pickups with American flags. You know, they're all white supremacists and everything. Because they're sick and tired of Ted Wheeler, the loser a-hole mayor, watching the city burn. We are done. That's perfect. We are done. Business owners in Portland are going, hell yeah, finally we've got reinforcements. Now, of course, this is happening all over the country. Black Lives Matter and Antifa members are getting in traffic. They're stopping people from being able to drive, taking them out of their cars and beating them, wrecking their cars, doing that. But that didn't happen yesterday, not when you're dealing with, a big old Dodge truck or a big old Ford F-350. There's your violent thug Antifa thinking they're going to stop them. They got their masks on. They've been able to dominate the city. Look at all the boarded windows. Business is dead. And in comes the Trump caravan. Oh, that's a Toyota Tacoma.
Dude, they're not letting them in the city.
Here they come.
Oh.
Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Listen to this moron. Here is the organizer of the Portland protest. His name is Alex Kisnick, and of course he's being called all sorts of names. He's a right-wing extremist. He suggested that you conceal carry, okay? And the reason being is because these violent Antifa thugs like to pull people out of their cars and beat them, okay? Or shoot them. Here he is talking. I mean, he's a right-wing extremist. No, not really. Listen to what he had to say.
All right. Go. Thank you guys for coming out today. I'm your host, Alex, and we're meeting today at Clackamas Town Center. We have overwhelming support from the law enforcement to help keep this event safe for everybody that's planning to attend. The route has not been posted. I know there's a few rumors going around that
because Antifa will go there and commit acts of violence.
The route has been out and it's changing. That is not true. We have not posted it for security reasons. This event is concealed carry only, and we do that for security reasons. There's many reasons, but I can't share them on this video.
Because Antifa will beat you to death if you're unarmed.
If you please comment below of your gear and what you're trying to bring to this event. We're looking forward to seeing you, and we'll stay in touch. God bless you, and God bless USA.
Okay, there you go. Wow, what a radical white-wing extremist. And if he's really a white supremacist, why would he go after Antifa? Because 99% of Antifa are white people. They are. He should be on the side of them, right? Shouldn't he? What's this? Anderson Cooper. Oh, no. Let's talk a little bit about pro sports and how they've thrown in with all this nonsense. Jacob Blake's name on the helmets of the New Orleans Saints, and I'm done. I'm done with pro sports. I will not watch a single ounce of it. I won't watch. I don't even listen to the highlights. I don't even listen to the highlights. I don't care. I don't care about the Royals, even though the Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl last year, and I was thrilled about it. I will not watch a single effing game. I will not watch a thing. I will not wear a jersey. I am done. I am done. They have screwed the pooch. Here's a game last week where the Marlins and Mets walked off the field because of the serial rapist and an assaulter that was shot in Kenosha.
And now Lewis Brinson announced as the leadoff hitter for Miami. And all of the Marlins and Mets have come out of their dugouts. Michael Wacha takes off his hat, and all the Mets on the field are removing their hats.
These are adult children who play a child's game that most of us left in our adolescence.
Well,
even if the stadiums were open to capacity, that's as many people as would be there.
So it would appear as though, after a poignant moment, that the Mets and Marlins will not be playing baseball tonight.
Good. F you. I'm not going to watch it. F you all. And I hope to God that pro sports goes bankrupt and they lose their contracts. I really, really do. I want to see these boys. They are children. They are adult children. I want to see them without a paycheck. I want to see them suffer like you and I have. I want to see them suffer like restaurant owners and employees have. I want to see them suffer. I do. I want to see them suffer. I want them to lose their big, fat, multi-million-dollar contracts and endorsements and realize how great they had it in this country. That's what I want. Here is Kenny Smith. I don't know if you know who this jackass is on ESPN. ESPN is a piece of crap. It's a leftist organization. It's supposed to talk about sports. Dear God, sports talk radio just sucks. And sports TV really sucks, too. Here's Kenny Smith. He's so mad that the serial assaulter in Kenosha got shot 7 times when he tussled with police, was tased, didn't stop, and attempted to reach in and grab a knife out of the driver's seat of his car.
Right now, my head is like ready to explode. Like, just
it won't be a big explosion. There's not much in there.
The thoughts of what's going on, and I don't know if I'm even appropriate enough to say it. What the player,
I don't know if I'm appropriate enough to say it. He's obviously a wordsmith.
Are feeling and how they're feeling, and I haven't talked to any of the players. I'm just like coming in, even like
nobody cares. talk about how many RBIs somebody got and their batting average and all that other stuff. That's what you're there for. That's what you've spent your entire life doing, studying the games that we left in our adolescence.
Driving here and getting into the studio.
Probably driving in your Lexus, your $100,000 car. You got your $1,000 suit on. Probably more than $1,000 actually.
Hearing calls and people
wearing his $2,000 glasses,
talking. And for me, I think the biggest thing now is to kind of, as a black man, as a former player, I think it's best for me to support the players and just not be here tonight.
Good. Bye-bye. You won't be missed. See you later. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
I just don't feel quick.
Yeah, nobody's going to miss you. Your ratings are terrible anyway. Thought you should know. Nobody will miss you at all. Nobody will miss you all. Here's Stephen Smith actually going after... Oh, he was this jagoff. I never watch ESPN because it's just awful. I just don't watch it at all. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, what's his name? This guy. Oh, he's so funny. He's Kellerman. Last name's Kellerman. He always Max Kellerman. He always acts like he's really intelligent. And he's like I'm trying to remember his name. Used to be on ESPN and then had his own show that failed. Keith, you know what I'm talking about. He likes to act really smart. He thinks he's really smart. He has like a half a dozen big $5 words that he uses, and consequently he's some sort of an authority on everything. And honestly, he should shut the hell up as far as politics are concerned. But here he is. This is Stephen Smith calling him out for basically saying anybody who watches anything but what Kellerman watches is uninformed, that what the information you get from Fox News or other organizations is low quality. Here's Stephen Smith for once actually appearing to get things right.
He's susceptible to low-quality information.
There's the snot-nosed leftist Kellerman, Max Kellerman, acting like he's smarter than everybody when he's not.
Seems to me. If you exist in a Fox News silo or a Facebook silo...
or an MSNBC silo...
of extreme right-wing propaganda, what you...
Everything's propaganda when it's from the other side if you're a leftist.
Notice, and by the way, this even makes its way into the mainstream. When a black man is killed by law enforcement, the stories that come out about him...
by a sexual assaulter and also a rapist and... and he held people against their will and he abused his children. And yeah, he's not just a black man.
Especially in those silos with low quality information.
It's not low quality at all.
Tim is a very bad person.
You know, you got to be careful about generalizing. When you talk about low quality information, you got to be specific about that. Excuse me, just like you brought up Fox News, there are people that can look at CNN or MSNBC and they're going to have their opinions about those networks. But
I agree with those. So those ones are right, but Fox News is bad.
No, this is not an issue of opinion, Stephen A. I'm talking about...
It is 100% a position of opinion, you moron. Talk about RBIs and scores.
Independent fact-checking organizations and the quality of the information. It is not equivalent to CNN and Fox News. I'm sorry.
Hold on.
You're a liar.
Hold on. No. We listened to you. We heard you. All right? But the point is, do you know that...
That's what you call a smackdown.
Urlacher got that information from Fox News? Do you know that? How do you know what television network he was watching?
No, I didn't, and I didn't say he did.
Don't even bring it up. All right, then. So don't even... You said low-quality information. You mentioned Fox News.
I'm talking about...
I watch them all.
No, but I saw
certain
facts that he was incorrect about, including he reached for the knife because that's where it's framed in low-quality information.
Moron, he did reach for the knife. They found it on the floorboard. He did not put his leg in the car. He reached into the car.
I heard you. See, that's your problem because you like to talk, and then what you don't want to do is hear the other point because you want your point to be stuck with everybody else.
You're just mischaracterizing what I said.
When you talk about...
Oh, you're just so much smarter than the rest of us. Max Kellerman, the sports commentator.
When you talk about low quality
knuckle-dragging moron
information, you need to be specific and identify exactly who you're talking about and know what you're talking about before you just castigate somebody like that. That's all. I don't want
you shut your big fat mouth off.
People doing that on First Take. I don't want people doing that on First Take. Period.
You talk about at-bats and stuff like that, all the brilliant stuff, the minutia associated with sports.
As it pertains to Urlacher.
Yeah, in 1972, he had 27 RBIs with 1973 had 28 RBIs, and this season?
Let me be very
As it
clear.
pertains to Urlacher,
I
he
said
was wrong.
low-quality information silos like Fox News, let me be very clear, I'm being specific, and some right-wing Facebook kind of news silos. That's what I'm discussing. And when I...
You still haven't proven your point. You haven't. He actually just kicked your ass. He just wiped your ass with your floor with the ass. This was pretty funny, and I thought it was circling back to the RNC, and I love the fact that there were people there not wearing masks. Every time that you've heard about a big event where people weren't wearing masks, and there was some sort of a pandemic that was supposed to occur because of it, like people going to Lake of the Ozarks and drinking and hanging in a swimming pool 4 months ago, they never materialize. The giant outbreaks never materialize. Guys. Sturgis attracted 450,000 vehicles, which means that more than 450,000 people were there. They're saying maybe 24 cases of COVID might have come out of Sturgis. There were warnings. Everybody was terrified. But, Black Lives Matter, you can have thousands of people. Any of those, did I just play any of those rallies with Black Lives Matter Antifa? Was there anybody saying that it was a hotbed of COVID? Was there anybody? Here's CNN freaking out about the fact that at night 4 of the RNC convention, there were people who were not socially distancing.
To catch this thing eventually. Let's talk about that.
It's Manderson Cooper. He's a little fop.
Dr. Rob Davidson, he's an emergency room physician, the executive director of the Committee to Protect Medicare. Doctor, I'm wondering what you thought of the scene at the White House.
Wait a minute. That looks like there's the March on Washington that had Al Sharpton and everything. Where were the COVID warnings on that one? Where were the COVID warnings on that one?
Aren't many masks. Which also point out the protests today. A lot of people wearing masks, not social distancing, though. Obviously, not what it should be.
But that's really not a big deal when you compare it to what happened in the White House.
Yeah, I was very concerned about the White House event last night. 1,500 people packed shoulder to shoulder. The head of the White House coronavirus task force in attendance without a mask with his family, his elderly mother without a mask.
Because it's all bullshit.
And it's concerning. We know people weren't.
We're not so concerned about the giant rally with Al Sharpton leading the way. That was, 100,000 people there. Not a big deal.
Only people in
those people standing out there by the MLK Memorial right there, tightly packed without masks on.
Contact with President Trump.
You are a tool.
Testing done. So I think we're going to see cases come out of that. And
no,
it's
you're not.
Just modeling bad behavior.
It won't happen.
Juxtapose that to what's happening in Washington, D.C. right now. People are mostly wearing masks. Now, true, there is social distancing issues. However, this is a public health crisis they are marching against. Systemic racism has taken so many lives in this country throughout our history.
That's a lie. There's no systemic racism in the country right now, and it is not a health crisis, a public health crisis. You're a liar.
Born black in this country in
You are a liar.
2017, you have a 3.5-year lower life expectancy than if you're born white.
Yeah, and there's a lot of reasons for that, okay? And if I could get into the crisis in the black community, I would, but you won't go there because you just say it's about being black.
You're a young black man, you have a 1 in 1,000 chance of being shot by police.
And you have a 1 in 10 chance of being shot by another black man.
8 times more than if you're born white. So I just think that...
You're a tool. You're an effing tool. Do I have some other? Is this a little bit more with Anderson Cooper?
Have you ever heard this president say one?
No, I'm not going to do that. I'll just get rid of that. Doesn't matter. Here's Joy Reid talking about let me do this real quick. Before I'm gonna go here in a few minutes. Here's a couple of let's not do that because that was 4 days ago. I'm not going to do the speech highlights. I'm not going to play Joy Reid because she's a tool. Let's move on to a couple of final stories that I want to share with you that are not necessarily related to politics. How does that sound? CNN White House. Oh, yeah, one more. Here's CNN talking about the crowd at the White House.
But I want to know what you were thinking as you were...
Now, again, on Saturday, there were 100,000 people there for a march for the rapist, sexual assaulter from Kenosha. And Al Sharpton was there, and his big fat father, who raised a terrible son, was there as well. Nobody wearing masks, not a big deal. But the fourth night of the RNC convention was surely everyone's going to die.
Looking at the South Lawn last night and seeing all those people sitting side by side for so long with no mask, and then to hear after it, the White House explanation is, We're all going to get it eventually.
Well, you know, what I thought of, and I've just been covering this for so many months now, is that
this guy's a joke. Sanjay Gupta.
Books will be written about this chapter in our lives at some point, and it will show events like that and say that in the middle of a pandemic.
No, it won't.
At a time when the country decided to shut down, when there were 5,000 roughly people were infected.
Yeah, you're wrong.
At a time when there were more than 5 million infected, we started having
You're a political tool.
Events like that.
Why aren't you showing footage of the rally? Why aren't you showing footage of Black Lives Matter and Antifa protests?
Again, I mean, it's.
You have a panel of 4 people, 2 anchors and 3 people to talk about a rally. The RNC, I love the fact that they did it. I'm glad, because the Democrat rally was such a joke. It was so dystopian and beyond reality.
It's really frustrating. It's mind-boggling, and I think it shows that there's certain segments of the population still have not learned or are not paying attention to what this virus is.
What about Antifa and what about Black Lives Matter? You effing tool. This is why CNN's ratings are terrible. By the way, here's my t-shirt and swag line right up here. If you want to order something, just go to tpublic.com, look up conservatees. I'll put that on my Facebook page. Bass Lives Matter. That's going to piss off some people. We've also got the hashtag done with the pro sports thing. I'll start listening when you stop burning shit. That, of course, is the blue line flag for police. Hashtag done with the NBA. Hashtag done with the NFL. Hashtag done with MLB. All done. Order that on t-shirts, order that on hoodies, order that on whatever. It could be a coffee mug. That you can actually order that on a mask. Nah, not going to wear it. Not going to be a sheep. Not going to wear a mask. There you go. Masks are stupid. You can actually put that on a mask. It's pretty cool. Shelby, my niece, says, was in Okoboji this weekend. People everywhere, very few masks, and a shit ton of Trump flags. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I'm going to do one more story, and then I'm going to get out of here. Because I got to go to work. I got to go work at Hendrick Toyota and lovely Miriam. This is pretty cool. I always like to close with fun video. Incredible moment. It took place in the Maui Nui Basin earlier this year. So a bunch of whale watchers are out watching. This guy's sitting at the front of a boat, a 30-ton humpback whale of Lahaina Harbor, Hawaii. And the whale gives the guy a high five. Can you imagine this? Wouldn't this be cool? Whale is actually giving a guy a high five. This will be the last video clip du jour.
Where's he to? We scared him.
Wow. Oh, that's the whale breaching. Oh, look at that kid. Look at that kid. I'd be doing the same thing.
Now, what do you think of that?
Wow. Let me find the high five whale. I know I've got the high five whale here somewhere. Because I did have that, and I wanted to share. Yeah, here it is. Here's the whale high five. This is just kind of cool. There you go. Guy got the high five. Look at that. High five. I love it. I absolutely love it. Thanks to the UK Daily Mail for that. Guys, I want to thank you for watching me today. And I'm on Newsmax television today at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 1 o'clock Central Time. That's when my TV show airs. We got some really cool things happening with Newsmax that I can't talk about. But I owe a lot to the folks at Newsmax TV and Christopher Ruddy for allowing me to be a part of the lineup. And my show's called Rob Carson's What in the World. It is a comedy show. And because we need to laugh. Today, I talked about serious stuff because we need to talk about the serious stuff too. But I do appreciate you joining me. I can tell right now that Facebook on Rob Carson's show is cracking down on me. I reached over 50,000 people last week. And when my reach gets too big, then they start to crack down on me. So what I would do is I'm gonna leave this posted here. I'm going to put it on YouTube. Hopefully YouTube will not ban it like they did my last one because I wasn't towing the WHO line with coronavirus. Literally, that's why they took the show off. They said I was not following the WHO's guidelines with regard to coronavirus. So that's why they took it off. I know. It's like North Korea, except for they have a choice, which makes it much worse. So if you would please order something right up there, if you would please share my show with other people, go to my my YouTube channel, Rob Carson Show, and watch me on Newsmax. I would really appreciate it. Okay. In the meantime, I'll be a little better. I'll be, I won't be as casual next week, but I just kind of feel like being casual today. God bless you guys. I will see you soon. And whatever you do in the next week, do not catch the stupid. See ya.